Pascal, the philosopher otter with a craving for scallops, made his debut to New Horizons in the Wave 1 summer updates of 2020, and the people loved him instantly. Which is no surprise. You can see him every day, and he bears the wonderful gifts of the mystical Mermaid series DIYs, along with precious pearls, and, on top of that, mind-blowing wisdom. And as that nice cherry on top, swimming alongside him is crazy cute. So the question is, was he always the S-tier babe he is today? In this video, I'll be looking at the evolution of Pascal over the main series games, along with embroidering him just for funsies. And by the way, I've embroidered like 3 times so far, and this is only my second time doing this puff embroidery thing, so try not to judge, thanks. Alright, so Pascal debuted in the second Animal Crossing game Wild World, along with the likes of Brewster and Dr. Shrunk. In Wild World, you would just find him standing on the beach looking out onto the ocean. If you talked to him and chose to listen to his super deep thoughts, he would reward you with an item from the pirate set. And then he would proceed to do a flip into the depths of the ocean. So, you may be wondering, where does the scallop come into this? Well, it's all part of an elaborate quest. And I do talk about this quest in the video linked above, so you can check that out in detail. But basically, in this quest, you start with a red turnip and trade it with visitors until you are blessed with the scallop. And of course, at that point, you hand it over to Pascal and he will give you the golden axe or his picture, both of which are pretty dang sweet. Also, him giving you the axe is pretty funny. It refers back to the story of the honest woodcutter who drops his axe in a river, then like a god shows up, because the guy's like throwing a hissy fit about it and crying a bunch because like livelihood or whatever. And then the god's like, hey, here's this gold axe, is this yours? And then the woodcutter's like, nah. And then he's like, here's a silver axe, is it yours? And he's like, no. And then the god like pulls up the normal axe and he's like, is this yours? And the guy's like, oh yes, that's mine. And then the god's like, oh wow, I'm so impressed with your honesty. Here, have all 3 axes. So in Pascal's case, he asked you if you dropped an axe, and you can say, yeah, it was gold, it was silver, or what are you talking about? And if you choose either gold or silver, he calls you a liar, because you are lying. But if you do choose the gold option, in the end, he gives it to you since that's what he wants. I totally got a laugh from it. It was so random. Because I was very much expecting that I would have to be honest to get it, but then he was like, you lied, but like, here you go, dude. That's what you want in life, that's what you want. And then he leaves you with the wisdom of, when in doubt, get the gold-plated option, which kind of applied to that situation since he brought up something random and you were like, what are you talking about? And you went with gold and he gave it to you. And then he dives into the ocean and swims away. Moving on to city folk, Pascal migrates up to a bridge. In this case, there is also a scallop and no scallop option, except this time, if you don't give him a scallop, you're just left with words of wisdom before he floats his way down the river. To get those sweet pirate items, which I do like to imagine, like little Pascal deep in the ocean, like exploring pirate shipwrecks and pulling off pieces of the boat to give to you. Well, to get those pieces, basically, you have to give him a scallop. Luckily, in this game, no trading quest is required. They just show up on your beach on rare occasions. So after making your trade, he does his flip off the bridge, and you can follow him all the way down a waterfall and into the ocean. Now for a new leaf. With the introduction of diving, Pascal finally wouldn't have to kill his sea legs coming up on the land. Instead, he would pop up whenever you caught a scallop. He then asks for it, and in return he gives you a pirate item, as he did in previous games. Then he gives you his trademark sage advice before swimming away. And if you choose to swim to the edge, you can follow alongside him until he turns and swims into the vast ocean beyond. And in case you're wondering about the Mermaid series, which is obtained through Pascal now, it was in fact introduced back in New Leaf. The pieces were originally sold at Tortimer's Island in exchange for 40 medals, which you won by playing these nice little mini games. And if you were good at these games, you could earn about 10 every 3 minutes. So to get one of these bad boys, you had to take like 15 minutes of your life, including the time it took to ride out to the island. Plus, there was only one piece of furniture a day, and it wasn't always a mermaid one. making this series one of the most difficult ones to get in New Leaf, alongside Cabana, which was also sold on the item for the same amount of metals. So even though it seems pretty difficult to obtain it now, getting it through Pascal is so nice compared to before. You can seek out Pascal daily, or you can just slowly acquire the pieces as you find yourself naturally diving throughout gameplay. Another change I love about New Leaf is him giving pearls. In New Leaf, I continued to seek him for his wonderful Pearls of Wisdom long after I got the complete pirate set. So I ended up getting lots of extra pirate items that sold for like less than half of a scallop. But now, after you complete the mermaid series, he gives you something that sells for 9 times the price of the scallop, and it can be used to create even more mermaid stuff. So overall, it's just a win-win. And above all, the little change I love most about Pascal and New Horizons is him cracking the shell open and eating the scallop. It's so freaking cute! I also really like the thought of him designing the mermaid series and the mermaid dresses and things. It's just really cute to imagine him deep in the ocean, like gathering the shells and putting them together and being like, voila! I'm gonna write this recipe down and give it to the next person that gives me a scallop. So there you have it, the evolution of Pascal, and I think his current form is definitely the best. And now I'm going to move on to talking about the embroidery. Just my thought process with it and some of the things I did. But before I do, let me know what you think about this kind of video. Should I separate them? Should I have like an evolution video and then a separate embroidery video? Or did it work well to have them together? Or is one part of it just not interesting? Just let me know, because I'm not sure where I want to take this or if I'm going to continue doing it. Okay, so talking about the embroidery. I decided to do a puff embroidery in this case because one, I really like it, but also I feel like it's really good for Pascal since part of him is submerged, but part of him rises out of the water. So I think it adds to that effect. One thing I wish I had done is added 2 layers when I did his body and head, just to make them a little more rounded and puffed out a little more. I figured that out by the nose, and I did 2 layers on that, because when you just do 1 layer, it doesn't give it, it raises it, but it doesn't give it real puff. So any part of his body that was underwater, I didn't puff up at all. And I also painted that thread with the same watercolor I used on the background in the hopes that it would make it look more underwater. It didn't quite work, it just made them a little bit darker. And on the arms, I kind of tried to make it look like they were puffing out on him and then it went into the water, but that didn't quite work, it just looks like shading. And as for the text, this is my first time doing text on embroidery, and I didn't want to go too crazy with it, so I just did something that was pretty quick. I'm okay with it. I wish I'd put it up a little bit higher. I took what he said in New Horizons, which is today is a good day, but I kind of wish I went with what he said in New Leaf. I think it was today is totally righteous, and I think that one might be a little more funny. So I might go back and change that. It's not a hard change to make. But overall, I'm pretty happy with it. The puff it makes me so happy. And I think I'll continue to do this sort of embroidery. I eventually want to embroider most of the NPCs, and I have a few ideas of who I want to do next, but if you have like a particular interest in who to see next, I'd love to know in the comments. Anyway, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Oh, and if you want, you should totally binge watch all the videos on my channel because they're pretty good, and if you like what I'm making, go ahead and subscribe so you can see more things. Great, thanks, bye!